What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another episode of Shift Change. Doing this one outside on the deck studio, which by deck studio I mean just my deck. So if you hear some cars whizzing by and some birds chirping, dogs barking, that's because we're doing this outside. Everybody in my house is still sleeping, which is great because I've already got 20 pages of a book read and I'm sitting out here drinking some coffee. We're gonna wrap up Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. Not to say that we're gonna never revisit mental health again, especially in men, because we are. It's gonna be an ongoing thing, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit. But we're gonna put a bow tie on this month. It was something that I went through this week, and how I'm gonna fix it. Titled this episode, "It's Time to Call the Plumber." The reason that is because if you remember in, I think it was the financial planning episode, I said, I'm pretty good at figuring shit out. Like, I kind of pride myself in figuring shit out, but, so I can fix some routine things around my house. But there comes a point in time where I get over my head and it's time to call a plumber, right? Like, because I'll just make it worse by trying to fix it myself. Or I'll know what the problem is, but can't fix it. So it's time to call in the professionals. Well, I think after this week, the experience that I had, it's time to call the professionals. So that being a therapist. So I'll tell you why. First of all, let's talk about plumbing. If you need some plumbing, call the fellas at Home Run Plumbing. Right, and the reason I say this, they're not my sponsor. They don't give me any money. I don't give them any money. But here's their story, if you're interested. A couple dudes with kids were working for the man and decided that, hey, we can do this shit on our own, be our own bosses, and do our own thing. So they did. And if I look at that and go, man, it's a ballsy move, right? Like the fellow that I know real well, he's got 3 girls, maybe 17, 13, and 3. Went back and said, listen, I appreciate your paying benefits that you're giving me here, but I'm going to go ahead and take a risk and a chance and take out a big-ass loan and find some trucks and do this shit on my own. And that needs to be rewarded. So these are local dudes. They work their ass off. One of them stopped by the house the other day. I was out mowing and stopped by. Had a great conversation just in the front of my house. And the stresses that go with this is you have to take marketing classes, and then you have to figure out how to manage your time, and then you've got to figure out how to manage a fleet of vehicles, and you got to figure out how to pay your bills and make sure that, his wife's in healthcare, so she's got some longer hours. And the stresses that puts on you, I think we do ourselves a disservice, I think, sometimes, as men, not people, as men, and not realize the pressures that we put on ourselves and the pressures that, we think society imposes on us to do the things that are required to be whatever it is that we want to be. And I think this month has kind of opened that up a little bit to myself to be like, I have super high standards. I have super high expectations of myself. I have super high, I feel like I'm a high achiever in certain things, but I'm a real low achiever when it comes to social interaction and I wouldn't say emotional intelligence. I would say practice, basically being in some sort of group or I don't know. Let's come back to that concept for a second because that one kind of lost me a little bit. But I think we owe it to ourselves a little bit to give, not make excuses, but give ourselves a little grace. So the point of that was Home Run Plumbing. They're local guys. Call them up. They'll come fix your shit. No pun intended, because they're plumbers. So what happened? So last weekend at state softball, I was sitting not in my normal spot, which is out in the outfield, away from people and yelling and screaming and things of that nature. And everybody had a really good day. For whatever reason, there was an incident that I basically, it triggered me to the point where I stood up and yelled at another human in front of other humans. And it wasn't a positive yelling. It wasn't, hey man, you guys are doing a good job. It was, no, you fucked up, and I'm going to let you know how you fucked up. And it wasn't towards an umpire. It wasn't towards a player. Obviously, it wasn't it was towards a coach. And I have no idea where it came from. Zero idea. I was sitting there minding my own business. I gave two shits, really, about the outcome. But apparently, something inside me flashed so fast that I didn't have time to stop it. So, what's the outcome of that? Well, the outcome is that after the game, obviously I did my, hey man, I'm sorry, we hugged it out. Sure. For whatever that means. Like, okay. I don't think my daughter didn't hear me do it, because she hasn't been acting weird, and she would be acting real weird. But clearly, and rightfully so, I deserve whatever consequence comes from that. The turn your nose up at me, or chatter, and what's wrong with that guy? He's it was a very monstrous scene, and I'll take whatever comes with the consequence of that. It's because I did it. But one of the consequences that came from it was this isn't the first time it's happened. It's the first time it's happened, I think, in public towards another human, but it's not the first time I've had a random emotional outburst for what seemed like a benign reason. So I don't know where it comes from, is the point. I can speculate where it comes from. If you look at what I do for a living and the mass chaos that's in my house every day, but I don't know that for sure. So we decided to call a plumber. And so I reached out to a handful of people that I certainly trust. And for a guy that really does not have a large social circle, I'm very grateful for the people that I can reach out to and ask just questions in a moment of honesty. And I got some really good feedback. Had some really good conversations. I was able to stop by a friend's business the other day and just sit and visit and talk about. He's got similar backgrounds, military. I'm not military, by the way, and in the fire service, and coincidentally, we have a lot of the same stories. We, just different situations, but the same reactions to things, where their emotional outbursts, what seems to be like a very innocent situation. So. Really good conversation with him, and that was helpful. Some good advice from I'm thankful that I've got like dudes that I can call and be like, hey, am I wrong in this deal? Am I just being some sort of way? And the people that challenge me into thinking, and they don't just jump on my wagon. No man, you're good. Like, don't worry about it. Like, get the next one type of shit. Like, it's not a false. Like, they just don't agree with me for the sake of agreeing with me. They will challenge the way I'm thinking, and I need that. That being said, we're not really finding solutions to answers. We're just making more questions, which I think is good too. So we're going to take that negative that happened last Sunday, and we're going to turn it into a positive. And I think that one of my true weaknesses is how I process information and then put that information back out. So my input, there's some sort of disconnect, I think, between my input and my output. And I don't know what it is. So we're going to find out. I landed on a group, a couple gals that run a business. It's called Frontline Therapy. It's they specialize in first responders, and I think that it's obviously fair to put me in that umbrella because I've done that for the last 20 years. I don't know if whatever the answer is that I'm looking for is embedded in that profession. I can't imagine it's not, but I don't want to use it as the excuse to, just. It would be easy for me to say, oh, listen, I got a lot going on, man. I'm sorry. I don't know if you've known, but a couple weeks ago I saw a dead baby, and this week I'm really just trying hard to figure out how to get my yard mowed in between softball games. And then, oh, by the way, we had something broke, and now I need to fix it. And so I'm really just having trouble managing my shit right now. So that's why I yelled at you. So please forgive me. I'm not interested in surface level answers, because I can make up an answer to make myself feel good about why I think shit like this happens. And it's been going on for 20 years randomly. Like, if you remember the story about the covered glass, like that was not an accident. That was a flash of rage, triggered by something innocent. I can't remember them all, that's for sure, but there have been a lot, and even if it doesn't get to the point where I make a scene, there's a lot of internal irritation that goes on, and so I think that I just need to figure out how I process information and why that makes me obviously flip cynical or flip negative, and then how I spit that back out into the world is going to be the challenge. And really, people really don't give a shit that you got problems, right? What they give, because everybody's got them. People give a shit about how you're going to find answers to those problems, right? Like, so I hear it all the time. People self-deprecate about being overweight, and sure, I'm sorry, but if you don't have any, plan to change it, then you're just being self-deprecating. Like, you're gonna be that way forever. Like, nobody cares that you're broke. Nobody cares that you're overweight. Nobody cares really that you're sad. But what people do care about is that you have a way to fix it, and that you have a plan, and that you're trying to move forward, not being those ways that you feel now. So I spent this week a lot. Like, it's been a pretty melancholy week, like just kind of down, just kind of shitty, I get it. There's some shame involved, and rightfully so. But it turned me towards finding professional help to manage it and at least find out where it comes from. So, is it mental health? Is it a mental illness? I don't know. I don't know that we're going to put those terms on it, but I'll do it if that's what it takes. We have to give it a voice, right? Like, if we don't, I don't know how many people struggle with these types of things and then never say anything to anybody or never seek any sort of advice or treatment, and then all of a sudden, what the end result is now you're a statistic, right? So you have to give it a voice. We have to. No other way around it. I don't know that we should give it a voice loud enough that we are using it as some sort of propeller in life, meaning, oh, well, I am an exception because I'm in therapy, or I'm an exception, so I get to act out in public because I have issues, or I get, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that that's the voice. Clearly, that's not the voice we want to give it. We want to give it a voice that we acknowledge that we are imperfect humans, that some of what we go through is the human condition, right? We all feel anxiety, depression, anger, fear, happiness. sadness, fleeting emotions, which are temporary, mind you. Emotions are temporary. But at the same time, there's a line between the human condition, anxiety is another one, and acting out on it, I think, or mental disability. And I don't know where that line is, clearly. I don't know what's quote unquote normal, and I don't think that there is a quote unquote normal out there ever. I think you're a product of your environment, and what's normal for me in my world is clearly not normal for somebody with probably a desk job and one kid or two kids. That's not to say I have the trump card or that I am better in any way than that. I just think that it lends itself to certain conditions that other people in our profession, public safety, healthcare, try to navigate. And that's basically what I'm trying to do. Like the inception of this show has been to try to show people how to do better, not at our job, but with our job, out as humans. And I'm clearly not a role model I'm not the template, obviously, for what you should do. But I'm certainly interested in letting people know how I'm doing it and what has worked and what has not worked for me, and I can tell you what's not worked, and that's me trying to figure this shit out on my own, which I've been doing basically for the last 20 years. So it's time, right? Better late than never. Maybe the problem isn't what I think it is. Like maybe I do got some shit from my childhood that I don't even know about. Like the whole compartmentalization thing, I think we spin sometimes as a negative, but it's truly a positive. Like as my friend Malcolm told me, like it's a survival mechanism. Like we can't survive without it. With like our brain is very much a survival machine, and it's going to do what it needs to do to keep us moving forward and completing whatever that mission is, which is biologically to reproduce and dominate pretty much. And so it's going to do giant bumblebee. I ain't even lying. That thing was as big as my wife's car. That's its job, is to make sure we survive into those things, and it's going to do what it's going to do to get us there. And so we have to basically compartmentalize some things, otherwise we're never going to move forward. If we're always dwelling on the negative interaction or the scare that we had or whatever, that we would never move forward in life. And so our brain does a great job. And sometimes, I don't know if there's a limit, I don't know if there's a storage limit in our brain like there is in computers or phones. But I can't imagine sometimes we just get over our storage is packed full of shit we've been trying to put away for a long time, and so maybe some of it disappears for a little bit and then manifests and comes back. This is just me talking shit, by the way. I don't really know that this is true. And maybe we just come back with it and be like, oh hey, there it is. Oh, totally forgot about that thing that happened 35 years ago or 20 years ago, but here it is, for no reason, right when I'm trying to fall asleep, or in the middle of your kid's 12U softball game, or whatever it is. Bam, we're back. And so to sort that shit out, I think is going to be valuable. I pride myself in being a professional, and that is, at work and outside of work. I think as human beings, like our job is to be a pro. And if you're going to be a pro at anything, like you are striving to be the best every day at something. So whether it's a new innovative thing at work that you're trying to implement, and you're going to present it to everybody, so you need to be the most you need to be the expert on it, so you're digging, doing research, going places, talking to people, putting things together so that you are the expert in your field at this thing. Or whether you're at home trying to figure out how to deal with certain situations or deal with the, you know, whatever the chaos is of life. The other day this is a little bit off topic, but the other day I was faced with two decisions. At least I felt two decisions. One is I could be the mean, scary dad, or I could be the enabling parent. And I really didn't know what to do. I had zero idea. Like, those two choices seemed not like the right choices. And the point of that is that, you know, as a professional, as a pro that I want to be in life and parenting and whatever, I felt like the answer should have been at least somewhat more clear. And it wasn't. So whether it was a unique situation, which I don't think it was, like we always face that situation or that choice as parents. You can either be mean and scary, or, man, maybe not scary, but you can be mean, or you can be enabling. But there's a fine line, and I didn't know where to go with it. Like, I was like, and that led to basically feeling helpless, and then that led to, you know, frustration, and then that led to just, you know, me feeling like there was no good choice. But we figured it out, and life went on. I'm interested now, I think, like, kind of like the pool guy, if you remember a week or two ago. Like, I'm interested in paying somebody to figure this out. I think it's time. I'll do the work. And we've talked about that before. Like, the biggest advice I got for this was you just got to go in with an open mind, and, like, you got to do the work. You got to listen to them, do, you know, the introductions, the pleasantries, the maybe there's some stereotypical, like, tell me about your childhood type of shit, or, you know, whatever it is. Just do the work. Just be open-minded. I'm not going to go in there and tell them what I think is wrong with me. I'm going to go in there and let the process take hold. So whatever that is, if I have to, I don't really like writing shit down, but I would imagine that some of it's going to be like, write down how you feel about this or whatever, and sure, I'll do it. It's uncomfortable because personal growth is uncomfortable, right? Like, it's hard. And I always hear people on the internet say, so I listen to a lot of, like, people that I think are doing it well and how they've gotten to do it. And they always use the term most people. Most people aren't willing to do X. Most people aren't willing to do Y. And I don't know who the fuck most people are. Like, I really don't. Maybe it's because, do you know most people? I don't really know that to be true. Like, there's a lot of people in the world. I don't know most of them. I do sit back and look at people and probably unfairly judge them as, you don't seem to be the type of person that's putting in any work. And I don't know that to be true, and it's an unfair judgment. And so if I was to classify, most people just aren't me. Like, that's the thing. Like, that doesn't mean that I am better. But I don't know, and I really struggle with the most people thing. Like, I know a few people. So who's to say most people aren't working on the same shit you're working on? They just maybe aren't advertising it, or maybe going at a different pace, or, you know, maybe they've already been through it and they got it figured out, so they figure the end result's the same anyway. I don't fucking know. Like, whatever. But I'm willing to get dirty with it and I'm comfortable with it, obviously, because I'm just that type of person. I'm interested in getting resistance on the way I think. I'm interested in people pushing back on how I think, because I don't necessarily think the way I think is without flaws. I certainly have come to a certain template of how I process information over the years that has somehow, at least in some capacity, I think has worked for me, but clearly is not without its weak points. And that's what I'm trying to shore up. So we'll see what they can do. I could say every week, like, I could do a show every week that said, hey, here's where I fucked up this week. But eventually you're just going to hear stories of how I screwed up. But if you don't apply action to it, and if you don't apply purpose to it, or some sort of outcome to it, then you're just going to hear me, right? So it's just, it would be perpetuating the same circle. So, like I said before, people don't really give a shit about your problems. What people care is that you have a solution. So fix it. So this is me. Like I'm gonna go fix it. We're gonna go do it. I'm guessing, if I really had to guess what my real issue is, it probably has something to do with control, and probably has something to do with controlling my environment, and which is an illusion. Obviously, there's probably maybe 2-3 things I can control in the history of the world, which leaves a lot of things that I can't, and how I deal with that is probably going to be a big issue. I'm not trying to put words in her mouth, the therapist's mouth, but I'm pretty sure, if I have to reflect and be honest with myself, which brings me another good point. Like, being humble and honest with your situation, I think, goes a long way. Like, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not asking you to go, oh man, that guy, he's got a lot going on, and he's sad right now, so let's be sad with him. No, I'm not looking for that at all. I appreciate it, but no. I am looking just to bring some sort of humility to life, when sometimes I think that a lot of times we don't see it enough, where everybody has the right answer, and everybody's right, and if you're not on board with this side, then you're on the other side, and I just don't think that that's true. And then you got to be honest enough to just basically say it, especially with yourself. Like, wasn't my best moment. The entire day came down to basically a 18-second outburst. And no, I did not time it, but I can imagine it didn't take much more than 18 seconds. 18 seconds, an entire day, just changed the whole course and direction. And that's hard for me to handle, because I could have just sat there and kept my mouth shut. Or maybe I couldn't, because clearly I didn't. So, here we are. That's it. That's a short one today. Next week's a big week. Thanks for listening, by the way. It was nothing what I said today did even mirrored my notes that I took for this show, so thanks. Next week I'm doing 2 shows with guests. I'm going to record 2 shows with guests. One of them is Chris Roberts, who is the director of EMS for Adair County. So Greenfield got hit with that tornado a few weeks ago. He was, incident command of that. And there was casualties, and there was injuries, and there was a hospital that, basically was damaged. So that was out of play. And we're going to talk to him about how he managed that whole scene, basically, which, if you can imagine, a disaster of that scale, and how he's doing with it now, and how Greenfield's recovering now. And then, we got Ragbri coming up, and that's a pass-through town, so how they're getting ready for that, and what kind of stress it put on their public safety system, and that kind of stuff. And then a couple of days later, I'm going to talk with a gal whose name is Karen McClure. She's a family law attorney, and she's going to help us kind of navigate the end of life stuff we got to nip up. Like, what's the difference between a will and a trust, and who's an executor and who's a beneficiary, and who gets daddy's hot rod in the barn when daddy's dead, and how we make that ironclad so that there's no ambiguity at the end of life. Like, there's no, well, I'm sure Dad would have wanted me to have this. We're going to lock it up. And then how to navigate the legal system if you don't have any of that in place, which I think would be a beneficial, useful. And I've already had a conversation with her, and she seems like a very articulate, smart, like, upbeat kind of person. So doesn't this show need that? A little splash of female every now and then. So, all right, that's it. That's all I got for today. Thanks for listening. Work hard, be kind. Bye. Hey guys, thanks again for listening to another episode of the Shift Change Podcast. I need to ask if you would leave a rating. I think that it helps people who are new to the podcast find it quicker. It doesn't do me any good, but it does help other people that are looking for the Shift Change Podcast on Spotify or Apple. It just comes up quicker the more ratings that you give it. I don't, whether you give it a 2 or a 5, it doesn't make a difference. It just helps other people. If you need to get a hold of me, contact me via my email, the show email, which is talkshiftchange@gmail.com. Or you can message me on Instagram at talk.shiftchange. Excuse me, at talk.shiftchange on Instagram. As always, thanks for listening. I could not have imagined um, how well this podcast has been received. So, as always, I appreciate it. Work hard, be kind.